Modern Marvels. Ground Zero, 9/11. Hurricane Katrina. Plane crashes, train wrecks, catastrophes on a monstrous scale. When calamity strikes, who cleans up? Tradewinds Environmental Restoration in Holtzville, New York, has become the company to call for mop-up after disaster. The single most important tool of their trade? Vacuums.
I can't imagine a business that uses vacuums more than we do. It would be very difficult for us to do any kind of cleaning without vacuums. And that's almost across the board, whether it's hazardous waste or controlled waste, or even just after fires and floods.
After the collapse of the World Trade Center towers, Tradewinds was on site from day one.
At Ground Zero, we needed vacuums. The reason why we needed the vacuums was due to the fact that we had 210 stories that collapsed. We had drywall dust, we had cement dust, we had asbestos, we had insulation. It all made up a dust that we never had before on a disaster site. The fallout was up to your kneecaps in some of the buildings.
Tradewinds employed over 2,000 workers and hundreds of heavy-duty vacuums to clean the toxic dust from over 4 million square feet of building space, the equivalent of 70 football fields.
We used a multitude of vacuums, from very small HEPA vacuums with special filtration to trailer-mounted vacuums, where we actually put hose segments of buildings under a vacuum, which actually constrained any contaminants that might be in these buildings from getting out.
Hurricane Katrina's 22 million tons of waterlogged debris presented a different challenge.
Once the water receded, then we had to bring in the wet vacs to start cleaning up the biohazardous materials. The water was so high that you had a lot of sewage, raw sewage, and once everything dried out, you had probably about a 5 or 6 foot layer in some places of a bio sewage that we had to clean up with wet vacs.
Liquid, powder, slurry, or sludge. Tradewinds vacuums sucked up everything Katrina threw at them.
We mobilized the same day Katrina was unfortunately hitting Louisiana, and we responded with some large caravans of specialized equipment, lots of vacuums, and lots of people.
How was Tradewinds able to respond so quickly?
When there's a large catastrophe, where do you go to get what you need? You better have it. In our warehouse, which is 70,000 square feet on 7 acres of land, we have over 100 specialized vehicles, as well as just about anything you can conceive that you would need to do cleanups, including 20+ varieties of vacuums, from the smallest to the largest.
One of the largest mobile systems that Tradewinds used for both 9/11 and Katrina is the Guzzler, a giant that lives up to its name, with 200 times the suction of a typical home vacuum.
We use this on emergency oil spills, mostly for solids, but we can also use it for liquids. It has a capacity of 18 cubic yards of debris, and it has a suction of around 5,000 cubic foot a minute. That's a lot of suction.
These vacuums are incredibly powerful. If the person handling the hose or somebody in close proximity actually had their arm or leg sucked up into the vacuum, you could actually suck the blood right out of a limb.
The Guzzler is specially designed for efficient dumping of its caustic cargo.
This isn't your home vacuum, and a way that we dump this is it's made to come over a roll-off container and actually dump right into the roll-off container, and then that container goes into a disposal facility.
All of Tradewinds vacuums owe their operation to the same principle of physics. An impeller, such as a fan or pump, creates a region of low pressure or partial vacuum in an interior space. The difference in pressure between the interior and the exterior spaces results in the propulsion of matter towards the low pressure area. Narrowing the corridor through which the material passes results in greater suction and greater velocity. When the material being suctioned is a deadly biohazard, special care must be taken to encounter and contain it, as this simulation demonstrates.
When you're cleaning up anthrax, anthrax is spores, so this vacuum has a HEPA filtration inside. This is a HEPA filter, and this would catch any anthrax spores that were to come through the vacuum and would not leave the vacuum once it's inside.
HEPA filters, composed of densely packed layers of glass fiber, remove 99.97% of all airborne particles that are 0.3 microns or greater in diameter. Toxic mercury spills call for a vacuum with a different filtration system.
This vacuum's special in a way that when you suck up the mercury, it actually comes into the vacuum, drops into a container that we're later able to unscrew and dispose of. This is the media we use to help catch the mercury vapor that is sucked into the vacuum, and it's not released back into the atmosphere because of these charcoal pellets.
In addition to toxic spills, Tradewinds also specializes in dealing with accidents involving blood-borne pathogens and body parts.
One of the most unpleasant cleanups that we have to deal with are suicides or major crime scenes. And again, we use special equipment and a lot of vacuums to address these type of cleanups, and it's one of the more difficult arenas of what we do.
One of the most unusual uses of vacuum technology that Tradewinds employs is for the recovery of water-damaged papers.
This is our thermal vacuum freeze dryer used to restore documents, books that have been wetted or flooded out. The machine uses a sublimation process which freezes the books to about a -50 degrees Celsius, and you create a vacuum inside the chamber, and the ice turns to a gas phase. The gas transfers over to a condenser and then back to ice again on the condenser, so that the books or documents never go through a wet phase again. A document would normally stay in here for 1 to 2 weeks. When these documents come out, they'll be totally dry.
The same power